Well, we're so happy to be keeping your company on this beautiful Boxing Day, and we're now in the next segment of our program. So he grew up in the water and started scuba diving at age 4. He graduated from the Titchfield High School in 1992 and pursued a bachelor's degree in Management Information Systems through Langston University in the United States. He's currently teaching free diving, and here to share with us, let's welcome David Lee and his student Janelle James. Am I right?
No, you're not.
Or J. James?
Yes, J. James.
All right, I'll keep it at J. James. Welcome.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you for having us.
Yes. Tell us about all of this beautiful thing that you're doing down there.
Well, I mean, it's sort of one of those things where it just happened, right? Like you had mentioned, I started scuba diving at a very, very young age because my mother owns a dive shop in Port Antonio.
Yes.
And so you grew up around the water. And then, graduated from high school, went to the States to pursue a degree there. And then while I was there, I got introduced to a freediving trainer. He then led me to 5 freediving world records in unassisted freediving, which is where you hold your breath and swim down, no fins, nothing. So, yes, it sounds kind of strange, but, and why would anybody want to do that, right? But it's sort of a passion. It's a very, how would you say, it's not a big sport, obviously, because not very many people want to do that. But when we did the last world record in 2004 to 213 feet, and then since then, I was living in the States, but I moved back to Jamaica in 2006, and just reestablish, starting family and all of this. But then recently, I started shooting more. I always used to shooting photos and video.
Yes, so have to be specific about that.
We don't say we're shooting anybody. Right, so shooting photographs and video, and majority underwater. Doing both, but majority underwater. And then my social media stuff got out, and these guys saw it, and then they understood that I did freediving. So this is how Jay found me, through social media.
So one thing leads to the other.
Absolutely.
So you're a student. How is that experience going for you? And just tell us about what is it that you've been learning.
Well, it's been pretty exciting. I love the water.
Yes.
All of us love the water. It's like a second home to us, or even first for some of us. But learning freediving from David has been exciting. He teaches you what you need to be in the water. He teaches you how to be fluid, and you move faster, less energy, and you're way more efficient.
But listen, this is a whole different world underwater. Yeah. Makes sense? Can you just give us a sense as to what that beauty is when you capture the images by camera?
Yes, so I mean, with photography and videography, I mean, you mentioned that it's really beauty, and one of the reasons why I've decided to really push that a lot more is because, we have the internet these days, and you can actually post these images, and my real drive behind that is from an environmental perspective, right? What I notice is that as the years have gone by, no one really takes notice of what's happening under the surface of the ocean.
Absolutely.
And if you're there and you've seen where it was and where it is now, you're starting to see tons of garbage and the reefs dying, the fish going away. And folks don't really put any attention to that because out of sight, out of mind. And I thought, okay, well, if I have this talent for photography, why not try to make people fall in love with the thing that I've fallen in love with through imagery? Because if they don't have the skills or whatever, or they're not comfortable in the water, I can say, look at this, right? This is where that trash that you're just throwing away ends up. And so that's really the driving force behind it. And then the freediving for folks like Jay, it's just an additional benefit. I get to train more because, I mean, I like to do the photographs, and I really got into the freediving, but then these guys, they're pulling me out of my shell to actually train harder, to stay down longer and make the photos.
And so how many students do you currently have, Jay?
Right now, this just started like out of nowhere. It was not planned to do that.
Yes.
I've done 2 courses with my trainer here in Jamaica, one in 2016, and then we did one this year. In 2019, earlier this year, and we plan to do one about March, April of 2020. But right now, I just kind of took 4 of these guys under my wing, and then we're just doing that. But the previous courses that we had maybe anywhere between 16 and 18 folks that will sign up, and it's a very intensive course where it's 3 days long, 8 hours a day.
Right. So do you tell us about your experience? I mean, how has that been going for you?
Well,
and the impact it has had on you?
Well, it's been okay. Freediving does teaches you how to relax yourself when you're out there in the water.
Yeah.
It's different. You have to focus because no, you don't have the support of the gears when you do scuba diving. It's just you, your initiative, and you have to stay focused. Going down there with one breath, going as deep as you can.
Yes.
Coming back up with that one breath. It does take a toll on your body too, so you have to know your limits as well.
So let me ask you this question, because control is extremely important. So what goes on in the mind?
Don't kill yourself.
Don't kill yourself.
Yeah.
Okay. So you don't pay attention to breath, the lungs, or what's happening
you definitely
in the cavities.
have to pay attention to
You
breath.
have to.
Right? So being underwater, when you take away that one thing that's going to keep you alive, which is to breathe, it's a little bit disconcerting in a way where you're down there. It's like, okay, well, now the mind comes into play because you have to stay very relaxed. Because if you're more agitated or in a panicking state...
I was about to ask the question, is at any point did you feel like panicking? And if so, what do you do at that point?
As I said earlier, you have to know your limits.
Yeah.
So if you do that, then you don't get panicky very often. But there are times when, you're pushing yourself and you go deeper, and then you realize that, hey, you don't have any more air. So no, you have to race back to the surface, and that's the moment that you feel panicky. But then you still have to keep your cool because you still have to make it back to the surface so you can breathe.
Say friends must have said, Jay, look ahead,
Oh, no, regular. On my Instagram, people are always, yo, you're brave.
Yes.
How do you do that? But it's fun. And if you allow yourself just experience it, just take away the fright for 1 minute. Get in the water, you just have to be willing.
But do you think that your bravery, though, is an inspiration for people who may be curious about trying it?
Yes, definitely. On my Instagram, I see a lot of persons reaching out, wanting to try it, wanting to come down to Portland with me to go to David's house on the weekend to practice. So definitely, even scuba diving as well, they've reached out to try that.
Amazing. I mean, is this something that you would make into a bigger thing than it is in Portland?
Well, I mean, it seems like there's the attractant there, but it's not something that I would want to necessarily, say, push and develop into a business. I'd rather let it grow organically. If people are there, then it turns into something, then that's great. It means that there's a need. And it's one of my passions as well. But I've always been very cognizant of the fact that when you take a passion and you turn it into a job, you sort of ruin the passion. So I'm trying to maintain that balance, not to have it blow up into something that, all of a sudden it's work and schedules and these kind of things. I want to keep it enjoyable.
What if it gets to that place, though? Because sometimes people, we've been watching from a distance the posts, the videos, and said, boy, we're going to go down there, we're going to bombard him with all of this. How? Sometimes you don't have any control over these things.
At that point, I believe I would have to call for support, right? And I do have support. There's other people that I used to dive with, free divers, safety divers, these kind of things. And my trainer, he's also launching his new website to be able to do courses both in the States and here, because we have a very fantastic facility in Port Antonio with a gym, 25-meter lap pool, and we're just 6 minutes from the Blue Lagoon, which is 172 feet. So it's a great training ground, right? Everything is nice and condensed in one area. So all the elements are there, the expertise is there, and there's an interest. So who knows, it may just develop into something.
And you get into the whole issue of safety, which is paramount.
Right, and that's one of the things that I wanted to cover too. It's like Jay mentioning, oh, you're going down and you're getting into a panic and rushing back. And we want to stay away from that, because you never want to put yourself into a position where you're not comfortable.
Right.
There's a very big difference between diving for recreation and then diving for a world record. With a world record, you're pushing yourself to your limit, and there's a lot of safety protocols that have to be in place.
Right.
Now, if you're out free diving recreationally, making photos, these kind of things, you're not going to have 15, 20 safety divers and a medic on there and, helicopter and all of these things to take you to the hospital.
Yes.
So you have to, just understand what environment that you're in.
Okay. So do you take them through a simple routine to ask some basic questions, and so that
Sure.
You get an
You know,
understanding.
the main thing that I do is I toss them in the pool and say, you know, go swim some laps, because I want to see how comfortable they are before I even teach them anything. You know, at first I sit them down and I say, you know, how comfortable are you in the water? And they go, oh yeah, man, you know, I'm really comfortable. And then I say, okay, go swim. And then I say, yeah, you're not that comfortable.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for sharing the story, and we congratulate you for your bravery. I don't know if I would have been so brave to jump into them. No.
Well, you should come down and we'll take you out. It's the best environment for you to
swim,
to practice.
For 5 years I swam for my alma mater.
Okay, all right.
There you go.
Good job.
Yes, I appreciate it. All the best.
Thank
Continue
you.
to be brave and continue to inspire young people and old people like me.
Old, oh boy.
We have much more to come on Sunrise on this Boxing Day.